Ontario's chief coroner announced an inquest today into the deaths of 7 Aboriginal students. Central to the inquiry will be the challenges faced by hundreds of kids from remote communities forced to leave their homes for a high school education. Gillian Finley's been following this story on CBC's The Fifth Estate, and tonight she has this update.
That was taken just before his 14th birthday.
Jordan Waba should have been an Aboriginal success story, a promising hockey player, a good student. He arrived in Thunder Bay September 2010, determined to get a high school diploma. 9 months later, his body was pulled from the river, the 7th First Nation student to die here in a decade.
All I wanted to know is why.
For years, families and the Anishinaabe Nation have been demanding the same thing. Were the deaths suicides, accidents, murder? Today's announcement is welcomed as a long overdue first step.
There is a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of apprehension, even a sense of fear in terms of it happening again.
Each year, hundreds of children from Ontario's remote First Nations communities are forced to leave families and home to get an education. Too often they arrive in the city with little support. All but one of those who died attended the Dennis Franklin Cromorty High School, a place that works hard trying to keep them safe, but understands too well the challenges the children face.
And a lot of our kids don't have the coping skills that will help them to adjust, and that's why they go to alcohol.
Access to alcohol and drugs will no doubt be part of what the inquest considers. So will the ever-pervasive problem of racism. But at its heart will be the question of why Aboriginal kids have to leave home in the first place, just to get an education.
I mean, can you imagine telling communities across this province that from now on, you will send your children 400 kilometers to go to high school, or they don't get an education? This wouldn't have happened but for the terrible problem with educating Aboriginal youth.
Which ultimately makes this provincial inquest a national concern. The federal government funds First Nations education, and for years that funding has lagged far behind what non-Aboriginal schooling gets. If change is to happen, First Nations say, it's going to have to begin in Ottawa. Gillian Finley, CBC News, Toronto.
And you can watch Gillian's featured documentary, Stories from the River's Edge, this weekend on The Fifth Estate at the time shown on your screen.